Hello and thank you for watching Access Asia on France 24. Coming up, optimism and skepticism on the Korean Peninsula. Is the North serious about peace or just buying time? We'll get a reaction from the South. Pakistan's devotional music of Sufis has thrived since the 13th century, but are Qawwali's days numbered? We check in nearly 2 years after its star singer Amjad Sabri was gunned down. And from a police state to a traveler's dream, Uzbekistan's reform-minded government opens up the country, easing travel restrictions for dozens of nationalities. And we begin with reaction after the first inter-Korean summit in more than a decade. Peace talks now for two countries that have technically been at war for 65 years on 4 different occasions, 1992, 1994, 2005, and 2012. North Korea pledged denuclearization, but never once did it stick to its agreements. Will this time be any different? Clement Bonnerot takes a look at reaction in Seoul.
Time heals all wounds, as the old saying goes. In the two Koreas, nothing could be more true. In an unprecedented symbolic gesture, North Korea is putting its clocks back in sync with South Korea's. Pyongyang switched to a new time zone half an hour behind Seoul 3 years ago, a measure which was aimed at rooting out the legacy of Japan's colonial rule. Now, in the wake of Kim Jong-un's historic visit to South Korea, the two countries are starting the long road to reconciliation. Another sign of changing times is the queue outside this restaurant in Seoul. Here, Pyongyang-style cold noodles are a hit with customers.
Yeah, I believe the noodle will taste like peace.
I just can't believe that peace is happening. I think the best is yet to come.
As the two Koreas discuss peace, South Koreans are craving all things North Korean. The noodles are said to be Kim Jong-un's favourite dish.
We cannot go to North Korea, so this is as close to it as we can get.
One step closer to peace. For the first time since the end of the war, the leaders of North and South Korea have agreed to end the war between their two nations. For some, unification could be on the horizon. A map of the peninsula created using flowers can be seen outside City Hall in Seoul. Many, though, are skeptical about Pyongyang's intentions.
The war is not over yet. You can't trust the North. We must remain cautious.
Opinion is divided in South Korea. Some right-wing activists are opposed to the idea of making peace with the North and believe the only way forward is to topple Kim Jong-un's regime.
Less than 6 months before Afghanistan holds parliamentary elections, attacks are on the rise. Dozens were killed by twin blasts in Kabul on April 30th, this during the morning rush hour. The intelligence services headquarters targeted in the first blast, while a second, 20 minutes later, targeted first responders and press who rushed to the site. Numerous journalists were killed in that blast. The Islamic State group claimed responsibility. Now, nearly 2 years after Pakistan's foremost Qawwali singer Amjad Sabri was gunned down in Karachi, the devotional music of Islam's Sufi mystical sect is playing on. But there are still fears that sectarianism and modern pressures risk drowning out its hypnotic sound. Alex Jennings reports.
The music of saints and an ancient tradition in Pakistan. This Sufi shrine was attacked by militants in 2005, but devotees still come here to listen to the trance-like sounds of the mystical Islamic form.
There is something in Qawwali which attracts everybody, attracts someone, attracts your inner, attracts your soul to be listened.
2 years ago, Pakistan's top Qawwal star Amjad Sabri was gunned down in Karachi. Since then, his brother has taken up his mantle.
It's a very difficult situation at the moment. The stuff going on around us has got worse. Some people who I'd call hostile elements are trying to harm us. It's beyond our understanding as to why they've been killing us.
The risk of extremist attacks has dampened performances at Sufi shrines. The genre is reaching out to Pakistan's younger generation, but faces competition from other popular music. And some say that the Qawwali's historical ties to faith are also changing.
People are not that much aware of Qawwali. It's now the youth, the new generation, they're towards music. They don't know what exactly the Qawwali is. They don't know the pure definition of Qawwali.
Qawwali has thrived since the 13th century in South Asia, a tradition that these musicians and their followers are determined will not change.
Hidden inside concrete compounds in Thailand is a source of one of the world's most expensive foods, edible bird's nests, which are used to make soup. The food is a delicacy in the region, often called the caviar of the East. Some nests sell for as much as 5,000 euros per kilogram. Amjad Sabri reports.
These tall windowless hotels in southern Thailand are not for tourists. The locals make their money from a different kind of guest. Hundreds of swiftlets. The migratory birds are normally cave dwellers, but a few years ago they started moving into buildings. Sawani is one of many people who've constructed a huge building just for them.
These blue pipes have been installed to circulate the air so the birds stay healthy. The climate and the air temperature is similar to that in the caves where they normally live. And here we play bird noises with the speakers to make them feel like there are lots of birds around them, lots of friends here.
And the reason for all this effort is the birds' nests, one of the great delicacies of Asian cuisine. The nests are made of the swiftlets' saliva that sets hard when it dries. Once they've outgrown the nests, they're of no more use to the birds, but to the cultivators, they're like white gold.
I'm going to leave this one for now because there's a chick inside. I have to wait 7 to 10 days for it to leave the nest. After that, I'll harvest it.
Sometimes called the caviar of the East, in their natural state, the nests are worth at least 1,000 euros per kilo. They're harvested about once every 2 weeks, and the producers from the entire region come to this room to sell their goods. But the nests are still not ready to be sent to restaurants just yet. They must first be cleaned and processed under laboratory conditions. Any feathers or specks of sand must be removed.
It takes an hour to clean each nest.
Once cleaned up, the nests double in value. The very best ones go for as much as 5,000 euros per kilo.
Every step is extremely important because this product is going to be consumed. It's going to be cooked for hours. It's food. That's why this work is so important.
And in the hands of chefs, the nests are turned into a variety of delicacies, most famously bird's nest soup, a dish that's been credited in Asia with life-giving properties for at least 1,000 years.
Uzbekistan may not be high up on many holidaymakers' must-see list of destinations, but its government has recently initiated an openness policy in a bid to bring in more tourists to the once repressive and isolated former Soviet state. Ivana Scatola reports.
Twins Fatima and Zukra are newly qualified Uzbek tourist police officers. They patrol Samarkand, an ancient city on the Silk Road, on segways to ensure visitors' safety and to promote the former Soviet country's recent policy of openness, a drive initiated by the government to change the image of one of the world's once most repressive and isolated police states.
We graduated in Institute of Foreign Languages in Samarkand city, so we know English, Russian, Uzbek and Persian language. I also know Japanese and
Turkish also, you know.
She knows Turkish language.
Yes.
Since the death of longtime authoritarian President Islam Karimov in 2016, Uzbekistan has been more welcoming to tourists and has relaxed some of its strict security measures. It now grants visa-free access to 7 countries, including Japan and Israel. For many locals, it's a welcome change following years of economic stagnation.
Of course we should be more open so that tourists come and visit us, so that they feel like brothers and sisters, like part of the family. We love tourists. When they come, it's a joy.
Last year, 2.5 million tourists visited the country, a 25% increase on the previous year. According to some analysts, this figure could increase fivefold if the authorities continue in their current pursuit.
So far, visa-free entry has been introduced for 7 countries, but there are at least 30 or 40 other countries in the world that want to be included, who have tourists ready to travel here. If we also grant them visa-free entry, it will be a very important factor in tourism development.
Though Islam Karimov can't take credit for the recent influx of visitors, his memorial complex is now one of the main tourist attractions in Samarkand. Travellers also come to Uzbekistan for its impressive mixture of communist history, restored 12th century mosques and classical Russian architecture, and the fact that, for now, it remains a destination a little off the beaten track.
And we end in Japan, where sumo wrestlers and parents encouraged 160 babies to cry. This at Tokyo's Shinsoji Temple. The so-called crying sumo ceremony dates back 4 centuries and is believed to bring good health while warding off evil. Similar events are held around the country, and participants are chosen through a lottery.
This is really once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, so I applied and hoped every day that we would be chosen. I'm glad that my baby cried a lot.
Now, if you're wondering how the babies were made to cry, judges who had to choose which of the babies cried the loudest provoked them by wearing scary masks. That's it for this week. We'll leave you with these images from Tokyo. Please stay tuned to France 24.
Middle East Matters, presented by Sanam Chantier.
Keep up to date on the latest from the Middle East. We bring you political, economic, and cultural events from the region in this weekly Middle Eastern program.
Middle East Matters on France 24 and France24.com.